edition of SVSU Fresh Talks. I am Maureen O'Neill and I'm the School Food Service Director.
And I'm Liz Strassman. I am the Sustainability Teacher here at the middle school.
We're making a very simple lasagna for the Winterfest that will be happening in the early winter here in SVSU land. And what we're going to be doing is giving you the recipe and also sending you home the ingredients to be able to make what we're demonstrating for you.
Of course, before you start cooking, you should carefully wash your hands. Okay? As an example, so of course, water first, then soap. But then spending time lathering is important. The ideal amount of time is about 30 seconds, or the amount of time it takes to say the ABCs. I haven't really been counting right now, but I'm getting between my fingers, under fingernails, okay? And definitely taking my time because it's the lathering soap motion that breaks apart the bacteria and actually breaks apart their cell membranes as you do the lather. Okay, so that was about 30 seconds. Rinse. Go. Clean hands. Ready to cook.
It's important to make sure you wash all your vegetables before you slice into them, because if there's any bacteria, it's on the outside of your product, and if you take a knife and you haven't washed it and you cut into it, that bacteria is pushed into your product. So we're going to prep the veggies. It's nice to have everything prepped before you start sauteing. So it's important to use, number one, a sharp knife. You get less hurt when you're cutting if you have a sharp knife, because your knife easily goes through your vegetable or whatever it is that you're prepping versus having to put weight in and push hard on it. So the way I cut a pepper is I cut the top off, I cut the bottom off, and then I'll cut an end. And then I just go around on the inside, and I've got my seeded middle out, and I've got my inside, doesn't have any of the white fibers. Fingers back. This is your guide when you're cutting. That's how you try not to cut your fingertips. So I'm going down like this. I just sharpened this knife. It's very sharp. I don't want to waste my ends of my pepper. I'm going to cut around the middle and use them as well. I want to keep everything the same size. I turn, and I'm just going to face them off to be sort of even, like that. Cut it back. See, my fingers are bent out of the way, so I'm not getting cut. Got them. Think about the same. Waste our ends, so we're going to cut them right up in there. Going to be a little different size and shape, but that's okay.
So I was going to demo quickly how to prep your garlic. We have actual cloves of garlic, about 3 of them for this. And I like to grab the top of my knife really carefully and in a very controlled motion leave my weight on the garlic clove. It crushes it, but it also allows you to very easily take off the papery skin, peels it quickly. And then I'm going to cut off the very bottom end that was attached to the roots. And then keeping my fingers back, like Maureen showed us, I'm going to cut it into pretty small pieces one direction. And then I'm going to cut it across the other direction to a fine, what do you call this?
Mince.
Mince, yeah, it's a fine mince. I wasn't sure if it would work. Okay, so finely minced garlic. Good. A little coarse, but that'll work. And it'll be ready to add to our sauteed vegetables in a few minutes.
Yeah. So Liz is working on my garlic, and I'm going to dice up some onion for this. I take off, sometimes I leave my root end on, depending on how I'm cutting my onion. Depends on how I do it. I'm dicing these, so I'm taking the root end off. If you're going to slice some onions thin, maybe half an onion and do it around in a circle like half moon, you're going to leave your root end on so your onion stays together until you're done. But this purpose, I'm going to peel these. Maybe wear a mask so you don't cry as much when you're doing it.
I wonder.
I wonder. I mean, it's all about breathing. But this is my root end, so I'm going to slice to the root end. And that's going to hold it together more. And my fingers are out of the way, and I slice towards the back, and I don't cut all the way through it. Go this way. Then I'm going to hold my onion together. I'm slicing down like this. And then I'm going to go back to the front of my onion again. And that's how you get your even dice. And I'll turn this flat end over. This. Add that to it. And when you scrape your cutting boards, you should use the back of your knife. What dulls a knife is going this on the edge of your cutting board. So see how I'm gathering that in a pile? I'm using the back end of my knife. It'll just keep your blade sharper a little bit longer if you do that. I washed for this occasion. A lot of times you only want to wipe your mushroom so that you don't get it wet, and depending on what you're doing with it. This is going to be a quick saute, so we're going to be able to I just rinse them quickly, get the dirt off. Sometimes, depending on what you're doing with it, you need to cut off the mushroom ends because they're really hard. For this occasion, I think we can just cut them right in and saute them. Like everything you do, I'm on a wobbly edge right here, okay? And I'm good with my knife, so that would be okay for me to do that. But the best thing I can say is to always cut on a flat surface. That way, you have less chance of cutting yourself when you're doing this. So I take off the little end, roll my mushroom. And another tip is going into your basket one by one to get out your rinsed ingredients. It takes you twice as long. I didn't get all the dirt off of me, so I'm wiping that off. So I have them right out here. I can just flip right through.
So I'm going to do the step where you have to combine 2 eggs with the ricotta cheese. So I've got my 2 eggs. And I'm going to do this pretty simply. I'm just going to put the ricotta cheese into a bowl. If you have a spatula to get that out, that's fine. But I don't need one. I think
Oh, you're
fine.
just saying that, okay.
I'm using simple tools that everyone will have. And then, if you want to, you could crack your eggs into a separate bowl. But I'm not going to. I'm just going to go for it. And then I'll get those eggs combined in.
This is a vegetarian lasagna, so we're making it really healthy. I do want to say we're doing vegetarian because both Liz and I really prefer the vegetarian style, but you certainly could add, saute up some ground beef that you could add to it, and with some marinara sauce to make a meat lasagna. That you would layer in between the noodles with your veggies as well.
Yeah. The eggs are blended in to the ricotta cheese.
I would also suggest that you season it. This is
Okay,
you should
I did
season
that.
its layers.
I did that myself when I made it.
So this is kosher salt and mixed peppercorns. We're gonna get rid of this, we cook in your own house, you can have little containers that you often use.
So I'm gonna do a good pinch of salt, maybe 2, and then a good pinch of pepper. I like seasoning. I might even add a little more salt. Okay,
We're
so
gonna season everything else.
season everything else as you cook. Each step, even as you're adding each ingredient to the saute, so you can season. All right, good? Yep. All right, I wanted to talk about the pasta or lasagna noodles that we're using for these lasagnas. We opted for the no-boil lasagna noodles, okay? They're made so that they can be put directly into a lasagna without being boiled in water ahead of time. But you do have to be extremely careful that you surround them with one of the other ingredients that has a lot of liquid in it. So we will carefully put down a layer of marinara sauce, then these, and then put ricotta cheese directly over these noodles so that they have enough liquid around them to absorb and then cook correctly. Okay, that's very important, please.
We want to pre-cook the veggies a little bit so that they soften, their flavors blend. It releases flavors of the veggies a little bit more as well. So this is actually my pan, and I never put soap on it. It's pretty well seasoned. A lot of people use Teflon pans at home or whatever. But what you want to do is make your pan hot before you add your vegetables. You never want to add your veggies into a cold pan. You want to sear them. You want to release their flavors. So we're going to let that get hot for a minute. I'm used to cooking on gas. We have gas here, certain electric, stove, whatever you have. And today we're going to do a combination of a vegetable oil and a little olive oil. Olive oil doesn't hold heat as well as a vegetable oil, so that's why. And this is just a extra virgin olive oil, and then this is just a plain with the vegetable oil. So we're going to do a little bit of both on the bottom of our pans. So we're going to get that hot. Sometimes people, like I know it, this isn't pretty hot. You put it in and see if it's starting to get a little bit. Yeah, give it another minute here. My veggie oil, I can smell it too when it starts to get.
How much would you
A little bit. I'm going to show you. Just kind of coat the bottom of your pan. See, I can. And when I put the onions in here, it's going to be hot and sear. So you want to make sure you're not like right on top of that. At least in this instance, I'm going to start with our onions. And you can always check by dropping a couple in there. See how it's smoking and searing. Get them in there. We're going to add some salt. And then we're going to add some of our peppers. You can use a palm. You can just stir it around like that. Kind of go like that with your spatula.
Or a wooden spoon.
Wooden spoon works, good idea.
Yeah.
So now we cook vegetables in order of how quick they cook. We've now added the onions, we're going to add peppers. Because they're like the second vegetable. We're going to cook down the peppers a little bit. I add my garlic at this stage. I don't know what you add.
Yeah, that's okay.
Go down my garlic. And did Liz, I think you mentioned you grew this.
Yeah, it's from the garden.
So every time you add a couple ingredients, you want to reseason again. Remember, you've already put a little salt, but you want a little bit more. We both like our pepper, so we're adding, and this is actually mixed peppercorn. It's not just a black and pink, green.
It's fancy.
Tasty. So I'm going to use the spatula again. Cooking that down. I'm going to reduce the heat a little because it's getting a little. They're all getting nice and translucent. Looking down, they smell delicious. They're getting that. Okay, and now here we have carrot, spinach, and mushrooms left.
I can hold something.
Okay, so I'm going to put the mushrooms because they're going to take a little bit longer. Carrots, we're going to cook pretty fast.
So I cannot flip the food like Maureen. My technique involves sort of like trying to get underneath the vegetables, lifting them up, and moving them around like that because I can't do what Maureen was doing without making a big mess. Okay. I'm also going to add another pinch of salt to get those mushrooms because I feel like mushrooms really do need some salt. Certainly, like we talked about it earlier, but if you did want to do a pan of ground beef on the side because you want to make this a non-vegetarian lasagna, you should. Yeah. Cook your ground beef really well.
You notice that carrots add moisture to your product here, so it's getting a little softening up a little bit more. The carrots are full of water. That is good.
Yeah.
So now spinach cooks down, reduces almost half of the size. So I'm still going to turn that down a tad bit more. I'm going to put this all on top for a minute. I'm going to put a cover on it. Just to let it steam itself for a minute. And then mix it back up. This is clean. I looks terrible, but it is clean.
Spend 30 seconds.
Yep, not very long. Look how much that's cooked down.
To make sure your lasagna comes out nicely, it's helpful to prep the pan. The other thing I did, please wash these when you get them. I bought this at the store. I gave it a quick wash with soap and water. I'm using a spray, but you can just as easily pour a tiny bit of olive oil in there and like spread it across with a little piece of paper towel if you don't have a spray. But it is helpful to do that. Now, again, reminding you that you need something liquidy underneath your no-boil noodles. So I'm going to start. I'm going to start with a little bit of marinara sauce. Okay, I'm saving it. I do have to be careful I don't overuse this. But so I put a little marinara. Spread it with the nice spatula we have. Okay.
And again, you can feel free to whatever marinara, maybe you just have to spice it up or, you know, add some garlic and herb seasoning.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I'm
Or
gonna
keep it just as simple as opening the jar.
I'm gonna hope that that's enough. So that's my marinara layer, and then with that liquid underneath, I can add my no-boil noodles. So then it's easiest to add the ricotta cheese at this point after you have a layer of the noodles down, because it's easier to spread them over something solid like that lasagna noodle. So I'm going to add roughly 1/3 of the ricotta. I should have a spoon, but oh well. Okay, I'm going to call that 1/3. And then again with a spatula or a wooden spoon, okay, spread that around. Take your time because it's a little tricky to keep the lasagna noodles in place. But spread out your layer of ricotta cheese. This way, again, I have something with a lot of moisture in it surrounding the no-boil lasagna noodles so that they cook. If you don't surround them with something that has tons of moisture in them, they turn out like dry pasta. And that's bad. Be careful with the hot handle. Thank you, Maureen. I'm going to put my layer of vegetables down. Again, about 1/3. Okay, lucky for us, we've got a lot of really great veggies here. Then we need to do roughly 1/3 of our Parmesan. Parmesan we have roughly, I think, 1 cup in the recipe. It's not going to be this entire bag. I think it ends up being like 3/4 of the bag of Parmesan.
It can be if you really like
The
cheesy
Parmesan
lasagna.
is, yeah, the Parmesan
It's up to
is
you.
salty. It's up to you.
Yeah, what you like.
But of course the cheese is roughly half fat, half protein.
Yep.
So consider that. And we have all of the ingredients in this layer. So that's layer number 1. Now we have to repeat. Vegetables or remaining things to throw on top, that's fine. But I did save enough cheese to make a pretty awesome layer of cheese on the top. So it gets all crispy and delicious. So I'm gonna do, actually I feel like I should do the, I don't know if it matters. I'm gonna do the Parmesan first. Okay. You know, and you guys, however you wanna do it. I'm gonna do all of it. Oh well. Okay, and then the mozzarella. I have my cheese on. It's going to be a delicious layer of cheese. One thing that is frequently recommended to make the no-boil noodles work. Okay, to make the no-boil noodles work, you're supposed to seal off the top of your pan with aluminum foil because it steams it. And then those noodles soften up a little better. So I'm going to, hopefully you can hear it over the sound. I'm going to crimp the edges of the aluminum foil over the pan. We're gonna put this in the oven. It says for these particular noodles, 40 minutes with foil, 20 minutes with foil off. You should check out the directions for your specific noodles. Lasagnas can vary in time somewhat in how much they bake, but we're gonna try to bake this one for an hour. Also bake them for 40 minutes.
And that's how you can tell when it's done.
Yeah, it's a good question. Okay, so you could use a
Sharp knife.
sharp knife, I guess, and see if it's cooked all the way through.
Okay.
And then open it. Okay, so then,
Damn it.
okay, so then we'll give it 40
Okay,
minutes.
can you see it now?
Okay.